Gravity Falls, a show of humor, mystery, and casual viewing. Unless you're me. My name is Christian. You're probably wondering why I'm dressed as Dipper Pines and about to rewatch the entire series. Rest assured, there's a perfectly logical explanation.
Right now we move on to Society of the Blind Eye. And yeah, this is a huge episode as far as like lore for the entire series. The basic premise of the episode is that Dipper is still trying to find out who the author is. And then one of the clues that he gets is that they discover that there's a label on the broken laptop that Bill smashed back in Sock Opera that says McGucket Labs on it. And then Dipper kind of puts the pieces together and then realizes that Old Man McGucket could possibly be the author. So they kind of had this quest to ask him like more questions about the journal, about the laptop, about the secrets of Gravity Falls. And once they actually kind of go and confront him, he says that his memories are kind of hazy. So they decide to go to the Museum of History to kind of find out more. And there's also another blinking missing moment with the agents where the crew is actually in Seuss's truck and they're driving through the street. And Wendy puts down the window and throws out a CD called Straight Blanching, which has a song that Seuss has been listening to in the Mystery Shack over and over again. Just like, I'll be blanching. I live up in a mansion. And Wendy's like, what is blanching? So she's like, oh no, I'd buy it. So, she's just kind of trying to find an excuse to get rid of it. And then when she gets rid of it, Seuss kind of like looks at her kind of like all upset. And she's like, I'll buy you another one. So that was like a really funny moment. Not only a funny moment, also like a continuity moment for sure. And that's when they find a secret passageway to the secret society called the Blind Eye Society. And the Blind Eye Society is basically a society that goes around and takes away the memories of people within Gravity Falls who see kind of strange occurrences. Like we have the whole teaser of Lazy Susan closing up Greasy's diner and exiting and seeing Jeff and the gnomes trying to steal a pie from the windowsill. And, she's obviously freaking out. So then she gets taken by these kind of like red robed people and then taken to the Blind Eye Society chamber. And then, they use a memory gun to take away her memory so that she has no knowledge of like the strange occurrences that she's seen. We also see like Robbie getting affected by it too, after seeing Rumble and McSkirmish brought to life and everything. So the characters stumble upon this. You see a bunch of like memory canisters, and one of the canisters has Old Man McGucket's memories in it, so they try to get that, but then obviously the Blind Eye Society, stops them. And then we kind of get revealed of like the different members of the Blind Eye Society led by Blind Ivan. Then we get a bunch of different townspeople that we've seen throughout the series. We see Toby Turman, we see Tats, we see Bud Gleeful, and we see Sprott and the Woodpecker guy and a couple other people here and there who have been part of this whole secret society and who've been kind of trying to use this memory device to not only wipe, what they wanted to forget, but also, wipe the minds of the people of the town as well to kind of protect them from the strangeness that's going on in Gravity Falls. And we also get a subplot with Mabel at the beginning of the episode where she gets a bottle and a message from Armando and sees that he has to actually marry the Queen of the Manatees in order to prevent a civil war. So she's happy for him, but she's also heartbroken because, she still hasn't found her big summer romance. So she kind of has this whole goal of trying to forget all her summer crushes and everything like that. So she kind of wants to use the memory gun like for her own purposes in a way. So there's like kind of this whole like big confrontation. The characters try and get this canister with McGucket's memories in it, and then they're eventually able to obtain the memory gun and wipe out all the memories of the Blind Eye Society members, and then have them think that they just got back from like some kind of concert, and that Blind Ivan is actually some kind of like troubadour whose name is like Toot Toot McBumblesnazzle or something like that. So I think that was like really funny twist on that character. So then they're finally able to put the canister, play it, and kind of see McGucket's memories, and then we realize that he was just a genius scientist who was actually an assistant to the author 30 years ago, and he hired him to help him build some kind of machine. And something went wrong after the machine was activated, and McGucket decided to quit the project, but then he still felt guilty about what he did, so he tried to forget it. So then he created the memory gun and he used it on himself, and then not only wanted to use it on himself, but then he wanted to kind of wipe the memories of everyone around the town. So he's the one who kind of created the Society of the Blind Eye to kind of go out amongst the town and help him forget about everything he's seen. But then as time went on, we kind of have to cover one lie with another lie, so he kind of kept using the memory gun on himself, and then slowly but surely kind of started to like lose his sanity and his kind of grasp on the world, and kind of became like Old Man McGucket that we see today, how he's just this kind of crazy old man and everything like that. But now we see him differently because now we see that he's actually a really tragic character. He kind of like lost his family in the process. His son doesn't want to talk to him, and now he's just kind of like this crazy old man living in the junkyard backyard with a bunch of raccoons and everything like that. So yeah, it definitely gives more empathy to his character for sure. And Dipper tries to ask him more questions, but he says that things are still kind of fuzzy, but that he promises that he'll try to remember things and try to give him more information as the series goes on. And he also says a phrase in Apbash cipher, which is kind of like the reverse cipher, where you kind of take like the letters of the alphabet, like A, B, C, D, E, but then you reverse it to like Z, Y, X, and so on and so forth. And then if you actually decode the cipher, he actually says Bill Cipher triangle, and he kind of does the triangle over the one eye, just to indicate Bill Cipher. And that was actually something that Mabel did in Sock Opera when she realized that Bill Cipher is back, and she's like, oh, you mean the triangle guy? So I thought that was a good little Easter egg right there for sure. But he ends up saying Bill Cipher triangle, hinting that Bill Cipher is actually a way more dangerous character than we realize, and kind of hinting at he might have something to do with the author's disappearance and with the machine and these big plans, and like the reason why Makeke decided to leave the project and kind of go crazy.
We also get several cryptograms in the episode. In the journal number 3 entry on the blind eye, there's a symbol cipher, which translates to, if my suspicions are correct, this is the work of Fiddleford. Does he really have to go through such great lengths to forget? Also during the end credits of the episode, we get another cryptogram, and after using the key Visionaire cipher, it translates to ignorance is bliss, bliss is boring. And the keyword is erase, which is found on the spine of the Triceratops. Also in the page section revealed at the end of the episode, we get 4 sequences of numbers, and after using the combined cipher, it translates to Gideon's tantrums, misspelled tattoos, Chandra's rejection, society's views, a fear of which is a life of regret. These are the things that they try to forget. And each of the forgotten memories corresponds with a different member of the Blind Eye Society, and one ex-Blind Eye, which is Old Man Makeke. And the completed cipher has a similar lyrical structure to My Favorite Things from the musical The Sound of Music.
So yeah, definitely a huge episode as far as lore, like I was saying before, and sets up a lot of things in motion for the future of the series. And then we also get an end tag of Stan working on the machine and a wrench kind of flying through the air and kind of hitting him on the hand and cutting it, and then him putting like a bandage around it and saying like, nothing's gonna stop me, I'm so close. Continuing that storyline of Stan still working on the machine, and then showing like the bandage on his hand to kind of show like the continuity, because that bandage we'll see for a couple more episodes later down the line, and kind of remind the audience that he's still working on this project and that something big is going to be happening towards like the middle part of the series. So we'll definitely have to stay tuned.